In today's video, we discuss how the FDA can find that your dietary supplement or cosmetic deserves to be regulated as a drug, which means you can't sell your product unless you get pre-market new drug approval from the FDA. I'm Michael H. Cohen, founding attorney of the Cohen Healthcare Law Group. We've represented over 1,000 clients on FDA and other healthcare legal matters, whether they involve dietary supplements, cosmetics, OTC drugs, medical devices, medical services, including in the larger multi-trillion health and wellness space. By the end of this video, you'll understand how FDA can use a legal rule known as implied claims to find that your product isn't a dietary supplement or a cosmetic at all, but rather is a drug. The first thing to know here is that claims can be either express or implied. A claim is express when it says something very clearly. For example, this product stops headaches. In this statement, the manufacturer or distributor is telling it like it is. This product does something very specific, which is to stop or treat your headache. Now, an express drug claim is a direct statement that a product diagnoses or treats a disease. For example, chemotherapy shrinks tumors. Here are some more. Reduces arthritis pain, protects against development of cancer. An implied claim is a claim that is suggested by giving the statement and everything surrounding it a reasonable read. So, for example, the claim herbal Prozac suggests that the product is equivalent to taking the drug Prozac. Simply calling it herbal Prozac doesn't take away the implied claim. As another example, I market a product with an image which shows a man before and after taking the product. Before, he's bald, and after, he has a full hair of head. The implied claim is that the product will restore his hair. As you can see, claims can be implied not only by language, but also by images surrounding the claim. Next, when you make drug claims, also known as disease claims, then the FDA regulates your product as a drug, even if you meant the product to be sold as a dietary supplement or cosmetic. Some claims are drug claims simply because the claim is one normally covered by an over-the-counter OTC drug, and/or because there is a regulation describing the subject matter of the claim. For example, there are OTC monographs on OTC drugs marketed to treat insomnia. So according to the FDA, if you say that your product helps you fall asleep if you have difficulty falling asleep, then you've made an implied drug claim, even if you only include herbs in the product. Last, the FDA says that there are at least 10 different ways that your product can make a disease claim. Let's go through them. 1, you say that your product has an effect on a specific disease or class of diseases. 2, you say that your product has an effect on the characteristic signs or symptoms of a specific disease or class of diseases. For example, shrinks tumors, where tumors are a characteristic sign of cancer. 3, you say that your product has an effect on an abnormal condition associated with a natural state or process if the abnormal condition is uncommon or can cause significant or permanent harm. 4, you say that your product has an effect on a disease or diseases through one or more factors, such as the name of the product. For example, diabetes sounds a lot like diabetes. Similarly, in one warning letter, the FDA stated that the name of the product, HGEF, hair growth enrichment formula, was an implied drug claim because it claims to affect the structure or function of the body, namely hair growth. Also included here is citation of a scientific reference to the disease itself. This is powerful as many companies try to reference the scientific literature to show that their products are supported by science. But this in itself creates a disease claim. 5, you say that your product belongs to a class of products that is intended to diagnose, mitigate, treat, cure, or prevent a disease. 6, you say that your product is a substitute for a product that is a therapy for a disease. For example, if you say that your product is, again, herbal Prozac, you're suggesting that the consumer can use your product instead of Prozac, the drug, which suggests that your product has the same effect as the drug. As another example, in a warning letter to Scientific Botanicals Company, the FDA cited as evidence that the products were being intended for use as drugs, with claims that the dietary supplement was for alopecia. 7. You say that your product augments a particular therapy or drug action that is intended to diagnose, mitigate, treat, cure, or prevent a disease or class of diseases. 8. You say that your product has a role in the body's response to a disease or a vector of disease. 9. You say that your product treats, prevents, or mitigates adverse events associated with a therapy for a disease. And then there's number 10, the catch-all. Your claim otherwise suggests an effect on a disease or diseases. This number 10 gives the FDA enforcement discretion to tag your claim as a disease claim. For example, in warning letters to Freedom Plus Corporation, the FDA cited these claims as disease claims. Strong weapon against thinning, slow growing, and depleted hair. Stops hair loss from continuing. Shown to help new hair growth. His hair is growing back and he's no longer finding hair in the sink after combing. These are some of the subtle regulatory distinctions in this market. For example, the FDA has stated that a claim about hair loss associated with aging generally would be an acceptable structure function claim for a dietary supplement. However, claims about alopecia, baldness, hair regrowth, and so on are drug claims. You can find these kinds of subtle nuances all over the laws governing marketing of dietary supplements. And one of the things that we do as FDA legal counsel is review the implied disease claims and make recommendations that take advantage of those nuances that help a company's marketing without necessarily running afoul of the FDA enforcement tripwire. Thanks for watching. If you still have questions, click on the link below, cohenhealthcarelaw.com/contact, to send us a message or book an appointment. Here's to the success of your healthcare venture. We look forward to working with you soon.